class of 63 Commons, the new green outside of the campus center with the beautiful white Adirondack chairs. That work was completed in the spring as a gift of the class of 1963 on the occasion of their 50-year reunion, 50th anniversary of their graduation from Ohio Wesleyan. And that continued work that had actually begun with the class of 1959 across Sandusky with the old Memorial Gate, and then the class of 1961 began the restoration of the Jaywalk on this side, and the class of 1962 added the fountain and what looks more and more to me like a European courtyard square between the campus center and the library. And now we have the Commons, and the class of 64 is making plans for a space adjacent to the Commons. It is a very special occasion that brings us together this evening as we recognize and celebrate the generosity of individuals who, through the years, have established endowments that provide support to our students and to the mission of Ohio Wesleyan University. Over the past year or so, I have participated in a number of alumni events around the country that have been framed around the theme of connections that matter. Here on campus, we're talking a lot about the importance of connections today. We want our students to develop a sense of the importance of connections. Our curriculum helps them make connections between theory and practice, between the classroom and the real world, and between a campus located in Delaware in the center of Ohio and all parts of the world, both near and far. In addition, we challenge our students to think about the connections among the disciplines, understanding that their generation will face very complex challenges that will require the ability to explore or to seek solutions with the perspectives of multiple ways of knowing, multiple types of understanding, and multiple areas of knowledge. One of the connections we celebrate at Ohio Wesleyan is the connection that we have with our alumni and friends. And we want our students to be able to experience those connections. And one form of that connection is through relationships with individuals who have established endowments who benefit our students today. And so tonight is a celebration of a connection that matters. It's a celebration of the connection between donors who have the vision and the philanthropic spirit to establish endowments that provide benefit not only at the time the endowments are established, but in fact in perpetuity, serving students in the near term, but also very long from now. Students will continue to gather on this campus and have the kind of life-changing experience that has marked the Ohio Wesleyan curriculum and the Ohio Wesleyan campus now for more than 170 years. You might be surprised to know that there are more than 1,000 endowed funds at Ohio Wesleyan. That is more than 1,000 times over the last 170 years. An individual has come forward and said, here are resources to establish a permanent fund to provide support to Ohio Wesleyan in perpetuity. Many of those support, in fact, more than 1,000 funds that support scholarships. There are a larger number of endowed funds, but 1,000 funds that provide scholarship support, directly assisting students for whom this experience might not be possible without that funding. There are 35 funds that support acquisitions for our library. That's an interesting thing. If you think about the wide range of materials that are available to our students in the library, those would not be available in many cases without the generosity of endowed funds. 19 graduating classes through the years have established endowments that provide support for Ohio Wesleyan students today. There are more than 150 endowments that have been made in memory of individuals with relationships to Ohio Wesleyan. Some of those memorial endowments were established by family members. Others were established by classmates or by former students who wanted to honor the legacy and the memory of someone who had had an enormous impact on their lives. There are numerous endowments that support various lecture series Tonight we are invited to participate in the Sagan National Colloquium's lecture, which this evening is in partnership with the Department of Sociology and Anthropology and their annual Butler-Jones Endowed Lectureship. The National Colloquium also is endowed with a gift from the late John and Marge Sagan. And this is an example of the kind of experience that comes to campus with the support of individuals who have established endowed lectures. There are endowed centers and programs. The Voltamani Center for Business, Economics, and Business and Entrepreneurship is perhaps the most significantly endowed center and program on campus. And over the past year, many people have begun developing endowments to support the Yobu Connection, the new curricular initiative that gives our students opportunities to make connections between theory and practice and to take their learning beyond the classroom through travel learning courses. In the spring semester, 16 courses on this campus included off-campus travel. 14 of those courses traveled outside of the United States. So tonight we celebrate an important connection that matters, or rather an important series of connections that matter to Ohio Wesleyan. The connections between donors whose vision and philanthropy establishes a permanent legacy that benefits us today and that benefits the students who are in the room with us. Those of you who are visiting campus this evening, I hope that you will enjoy the opportunity to get to know some of our students who are seated with you at the table. And that as the evening unfolds, you will learn more about their experiences and that you will see the return on the investment of the gift that you and so many others have made in the lives of these students and in the experiences that they are having here. We're thrilled to have you. We are going to begin the dinner now, and then following dinner, we look forward to a program where we will hear from Colleen Garland, our Vice President for University Advancement, from some of our students, and from a couple of our donors as well. In the meantime, enjoy the dinner and the conversation. Bon appetit.
We started with the theme of connections that matter, and in University Advancement we have the pleasure of bringing together alumni and donors with the campus community in many, many occasions. And so today is one of those very special opportunities to do just that. I thought I would just share a recent story. Brock and I were in California just 2 weeks ago, and along the theme of connections that matter, we had parents of a current student and a recent graduate host a small group for dinner. And it was a wonderful evening, and at one point Brock asked those around the table to share something that has been significant in their life about Ohio Wesleyan. And I am telling you, we could not have scripted it. It was beautiful as each person went around and shared from a woman who is an alumnus of Stanford, but whose late husband was a member of our Board of Trustees and whose daughter came to Ohio Wesleyan. And she talked about just what a significant impact Ohio Wesleyan had on her daughter and how meaningful it was to her husband who served for so many years. To some parents of a brand new freshman who had just dropped their daughter off here a few weeks before. And I love this quote. At one point, the daughter turned to her mother and said about Ohio Wesleyan, "Mom, I can become somebody here." It was just such a beautiful thing that as the mother told the story, she got choked up herself just thinking about how happy she is that her daughter is here and he is happy to be here. So that was just one example of the many opportunities we have to help people reconnect and connect in new ways. And so we're happy to do that tonight. What I'd like to do is share the introductions of our speakers. The format of our program this evening is to hear from two of you, those of you in the room who are donors, and two of our current students. And so what I'd like to do is ask those of you who are speaking to simply join me up on the stage right now. So Cynthia, you might not want to sit since you're going to start straight away. I'm going to start with my first introduction. So our first speaker this evening is an alumna who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of about her reasons for being involved with Ohio Wesleyan. So join me in welcoming Sophia.
What I want to do is talk about Tom Halliday, who was my first husband, and in whose honor my children and I started a scholarship. Tom was, or I started, Tom's family were very active, a number of them went to Ohio Wesleyan. His grandfather, his great-grandfather arrived at Ohio Wesleyan with a horse and buggy. His uncle arrived and didn't finish here. He went into World War I and was killed in the Argonne Force. His name is on the plaques outside of people who were killed in the First World War. So from this background, Tom came to Ohio Wesleyan in 1951. The Korean War was going on and the draft was occurring. So he and his cousin both came to Ohio Wesleyan the minute they graduated from high school and joined ROTC because they thought they would rather go into military as an officer instead of as an enlisted man. And while he was at Ohio Wesleyan, he was very much interested in people and helping people. He was very active in the Y here at Circle K, his fraternity, Beta Theta Pi. He decided, plus this was quite a religious school at the time, and he was a Methodist. And he debated whether to become a physician or a minister. And he decided to become a minister. He decided not to become a minister, but to become a physician. And after he graduated from here, he went to Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia. And there he was president of his fraternity and 3 different honoraries. And after that, he did his internship at Ohio State. And then he went into the military, into the Air Force, and was a flight surgeon for 2 years and left with the rank of captain. He came back to Columbus and did a 4-year residency in obstetrics and gynecology at St. Anne's and Riverside. And then, as he finished his training in 1966, there were a lot of OBGYNs in the Columbus vicinity, and there were none in the Marietta region. So we moved to Marietta, and there he became the first OBGYN board certified, and he continued with his interest in organizations, and he became president of the State of Ohio OBGYN Society and a national officer. In addition to that, he was president of the Y, he was president of the Cancer Society, he was president of the staff, and he contributed a great deal to his fellow Marietans. By the time he died at age 54, he delivered over 5,000 babies. And when he died in 1988, and in 1990, he was voted in Marietta the outstanding citizen of the decade for all of his contributions. So, all in all, his family, my cousins, not my siblings, my children, we don't have as many as the ships do. My daughter was the 24th
share those memories really reminds us that this is one of the very powerful reasons that people create endowed funds in memory of a loved one. And it's a way to share that person's story and have that legacy live on. So thank you, Cindy, for sharing that. Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Jacob Becker, class of 2014. Jacob is a senior from Gahanna, Ohio, and he was in Washington, D.C. just last spring participating in the Wesleyan and Washington program, so he will probably share a bit about that. On campus, he took part in the 2012 convention, and no surprise, he's a politics and government major. So join me in welcoming Jacob.
As a senior politics and government major who has been the recipient of a number of scholarships during my years at OU, it is an honor to have this opportunity to express my thanks and appreciation on behalf of myself and my fellow students to all of the donors who have helped make it possible for each of us to receive the high-quality education that OU offers. I remember having a difficult time deciding which college to attend, as I had numerous acceptances from schools ranging from other small liberal arts colleges to large universities. When I participated in a reception for prospective students who are awarded Schubert scholarships, the knowledge that I would have a chance to work closely with faculty, even as an undergrad, and that my education would be personalized, helped convince me that that would be a good one, and I never regretted my decision. The financial support I have received during my time at OU has helped me take advantage of the many unique learning opportunities that this college offers, such as attending the State and National Colloquium every year and spending the second semester of my junior year interning in Senator Sherrod Brown's D.C. office as part of the Wesleyan and Washington program. If nothing else, the Wesleyan and Washington program was a very interesting experience. Although I underwent a great deal of growth during my time in D.C., it was rarely the type of growth that I had expected when I began my internship. Most internships are invaluable networking opportunities that can help people develop skills that are critical to a successful career, and mine was no exception in this regard. However, these are not the skills and benefits that I spoke of earlier. The greatest aspect of the Wesleyan Washington program was that it thrust me into an environment that was completely new. It forced me to take risks and to develop friendships with people who had ideas and cultural values that were sometimes many very different from my own. In this way, it forced me to look at change not as a destructive tidal wave, but as a gentle current that would carry me to exactly where I needed to go. Politics has been my calling for as long as I can remember, and I've spent every summer during college doing full-time pejorative title way, but as a
I think that's a very wise line, and I appreciate it, and will take it with me from here. So, our next speaker, again, has a very long family history with Ohio Wesleyan. Robert Hickson's grandfather, Charles Hickson, graduated in 1916. Both of his parents in 1950. His great-uncles also in 1912. And many of the children in their family in the 1940s. I don't know the total number, Rob, maybe you can tell us. While Rob was on campus, he was a Phi Kappa Psi and a mortar board. He went to the University of Miami for law school, ran his own law firm for many years, and is now a judge on the Morrow County Court of Common Pleas in Mount Gilead. Please join me in welcoming Rob.
To lay the ground around politicians, so I was told to keep this sort of short, so I will try to keep it short. Remember to keep it short. Even under a certain time frame. I think my speech is more of I'll try to be connectional. Apparently, that's based on what we're talking about, and I don't want to go on about the number of people that have gone to Ohio Wesleyan in my family, but I will give a little bit of insight. But I think predominantly I wanted to focus on why we want to give to Ohio Wesleyan. Walking around campus periodically and more recently, I tried to pick up a few answers to that question by looking at some of the donor plaques that are obviously on the campus of frequent and everywhere. And this is giving some insight into what the answer might be. Why the Ohio Wesleyan alums could give could be as simple as a simple epitaph of remember to say thank you to the university. And I saw this in a small tasteful plaque that was dedicated by two well-known benefactors, David and Joe Smith. It's a message of thanks on behalf of loved ones and other graduates. We often hear that giving is intended to pay forward or to do something that you're looking for to beyond a common experience. And so some other Ohio Wesleyan supporters, Robert and Barbara Romero family, find the reasons for giving back as the very reason why they attended the school. And they stated that it is a pathway chosen and inspiration for the future. For me personally, I give thanks to Ohio Wesleyan for helping me think logically. It wasn't necessarily the same reason that I thought when I was 21, and it certainly evolved into something more differently than in the judicial world that I'm now. But that was on the plaque by another benefactor in 1933 along with deal. And just as contributions to this institutions can be continuous and can take various forms, I can assure you that Ohio Wesleyan's impact on our lives is continuous, lifelong, and very profound. As I said, what I thought about what's necessary to do logically has changed. Gone through a serious evolution, thank goodness, from my vocation, because I think what I thought was logical at 21 probably for my children. I hope they will have an evolution there as to what they think is logical. But I think that it's important that students can recognize that for their current careers and where they're going, that you that are here, that your contribution to Ohio Wesleyan is only just started. That I know that on behalf of my maternal grandfather, when she talked about him and at least one of his great uncles, who rang the bells in Great Chapel, so it's in a class, more it's more electronically done now, so I don't think that you have to get up and ring them. And I'm not sure all of my relatives were quite time management. Those must have been, but I don't know. My children were still thinking of the Sam ringing the bells. But I think that they were involved in doing it. And I think that was an early form of work study. They felt that there were a way of giving back to the university. On another personal note, I'm a product of the university, as was mentioned. My father was the president of the fraternity, and my mother was the president of an independent women's organization on campus in the late 40s. But that has given me a unique understanding of how to contribute back to the university. I'm hoping that I can contribute in many forms as my parents had. It's a role that we should all try to espouse to in terms of the forefathers and women before us, how they contribute to not only our Wesleyan, but society at large. We should try to take that spiritual, physical, they did, and it was a seed laid. And I'm glad, obviously, or else I wouldn't be here. But it did forever change them, their involvement in Ohio Wesleyan. They believe that the purpose of Ohio Wesleyan is to prepare young men and women to know what they believe and why they believe it, to know where they stand and why they stand there. My parents and grandparents and cousins and other members of my family, and those Sharon and I believe, to give to Ohio Wesleyan is part of that purpose. We give to understand ourselves. We give to understand how this institution has changed us and changed our logical thought process, as well as our emotional hardwiring. I give and try to stand for the purpose of giving, because Ohio Wesleyan gave me the invaluable tools of comprehending of where I stand and why I stand there. Thank you to all of you that have contributed to Ohio Wesleyan, and to those who will shortly begin your contribution for the long term. Thank you very much.
So our final speaker this evening is Katie Budd. Katie is a junior from Upper Sandusky, or Upper as it's known to people in the know. She's worked as a student caller at the Ohio Wesleyan Fund Calling Center. From her freshman year is now student supervisor, and we're proud to say she's an annual giving intern in our division. Katie's a member of Kappa Kappa Gamma and has participated in activities with interfaith relations in Chicago and attended the President's Challenge Conference in D.C. So please join me in welcoming Katie.
First, I just want to say thanks to Colleen for all your introductions. They were wonderful. And thank you all for being here. Whether you're a student or a staff member, if you're an alumni here, you all have been an integral part of my Ohio Wesleyan experience. So thank you so much for that. If you had told me, 5 years ago that I'd be standing here today, I don't know if I would laugh at you, but it would have been a similar reaction. I grew up in a 3-bedroom trailer shared between 7 people. I grew up in the type of poverty where we struggled to put food on the table, and I remember, even as a little girl, when my dad would tuck me in at night, he would say, "Look around you. Look at how small this room is that you share with your 2 sisters. And if you want more than this someday, you need to be educated. You need to go to college." I think to myself as I got older, well, that's all good and well, Dad, but if we're having trouble paying for food to put on the table, how do you expect me to pay for the college education? But regardless of, the pessimistic feelings that I felt back then, I took his message of getting educated to heart, and I graduated high school with a 3.8. And I applied to tons of colleges. My counselor
Vietnam. But that's what we have done this evening. And in the process, we've been reminded in powerful ways, as Colleen said, of why it is that we are here and why it is that we are able to be here. We're able to be here because of the vision and generosity of individuals and families and foundations who for more than 170 years have believed in the mission of an undergraduate residential liberal arts institution on a campus in Central Ohio, and have done everything they can to provide the support to make that mission possible, not just for people with extraordinary financial needs, but for any student with intellectual talent and the desire to work hard. And because of that generosity, we are able to be here. But why it is we are here really is because of the students. The students we have the honor and privilege of working with today, and you've heard from two of them. And special thanks to Jacob and to Katie. I'll say a word about each. In January or February of each year, the presidents of the independent colleges across the country gather in Washington, D.C. for our annual meeting. And on Tuesday afternoon, we storm Capitol Hill and make our case before our elected officials. And when I walked into Senator Brown's office, there was Jacob. And when the senator walked into the conference room where the presidents from the state of Ohio were gathered, he said, "Where's the president of Ohio, Wesleyan? We have one of your students in our office this semester who spoke so highly of Jacob and his work." And you've heard Jacob talk about the impact of that experience on him. And then Katie, who Colleen gave you only a fraction of the things that she has done on campus, one of which was to provide significant leadership and development of the program for orienting our first-year students this year as one of the orientation team leaders. And Katie, thank you for sharing so eloquently your story and so personally. Thank all of you for being here. It's wonderful to have this time together. It's a beautiful evening to walk on the campus, and I hope that as we leave, you will make your way from here to historic Great Chapel to participate this evening in the Sagan National Colloquium, which, as I indicated earlier, is one of those programs that is made possible through an endowment established by individuals who want to benefit Ohio Wesleyan in perpetuity. John and Mark Sagan were two of the great friends of Ohio Wesleyan, and they endowed this program in 1999. Each year, the Sagan National Colloquium in the fall semester of the year focuses the attention of the campus on an issue of importance at the time. And then in the spring, we spend the fall thinking about the issue, and in the spring semester, we're challenged to act upon the issue. And this year, our topic is the interdisciplinary impact of global climate change. And all of that's important. We're all aware of the issues related to global climate change, but we're thinking about this in a